guys, I'm going to show you how to create a pinch pot using the Model Magic clay. If you'd like to, you can also create something like this. So I'm going to use one package for the like cup part and then one package for the lid. So I'm just going to set one to the side. I'm going to open just one to start. So this is your air dry clay. It's a little spongy. And I'm just going to start by rolling it kind of into a ball. It should be pretty soft and manipulatable. If it's not, let me know so I can send you a new package. So I've got just a regular ball and I'm going to hold it in my hand, kind of like a baby bird. So if you were holding a baby bird, and then I'm going to push my thumb right in the center and create kind of like a hole. And then I'm just going to go ahead and use my finger and my thumbs at the same time to pinch into a pot shape, kind of like keeping it taller rather than letting it get too wide. I'm just going to do that until it's nice and even. I've done this a few times, so it's not going to take me too long. It might take you a little bit longer. And I'm going to set it on the table to create like a bottom so that it sits on the table nice and flat. And I'm just going to keep pinching until it's like nice and even. You can smooth it out with just like a dab of water if you need to. You can also, if you have like a needle or like a ballpoint pen, if you want to add texture or designs on the outside, you can like scratch into this if you'd like to. And then if it gets like too wide, you can like pinch it back together. So I'm kind of like pushing the clay back together. And then once you're done, you're going to set it to the side in a warm place so that it can completely dry on its own. And it does need about 3 days. So I actually, at my house, I have a shelf on my radiator. And I'm just going to set it on that shelf, and that should make it dry pretty quickly. And that's it. I've got a nice little pinch pot. And my goal here is to make like the top as even as I can so that when the lid sits on top of it, it won't wobble too much. So for the second part of this project, I've opened my second part of Model Magic, and I'm going to start by splitting it in half. So I'm going to use half to make my lid and other half to make my design. So I'm going to start by rolling it into a ball again. And I'm going to flatten it out. I'm going to kind of like pinch it into a lid shape. And kind of like roll it on my table to make it nice and round. A rolling pin could really help here, but I don't have one handy. And I want to keep it kind of nice and thick. And I'm going to measure it against my pot to make sure that it will fit. So I've finished the first part of the lid, and I'm going to add some designs and decorations on top. So I've got my other piece of clay, and I'm just going to break off a little piece. And in my sketch, I like drew some flowers, so I'm going to start by creating the center of my flower, which is just like a little ball. I'm going to stick it on top, and it should just stick. This clay is pretty sticky. And then I'm going to make all of my little petals individually. So the more complicated your design is, the longer this will take you. But you can get kind of like really creative with this one, which is cool. So I've got my little petal here, and I'm going to stick it on and just like shape it. And I'm going to keep doing that until I have all my petals done. I'm going to try to make them as even as I possibly can in size and shape. So I got all of my initial petals done on my flower, and I still have quite a bit of clay left. So to make this look a little bit more three-dimensional, I'm going to add like smaller secondary petals on top. And that should give it more of like a three-dimensional effect. So the more like details and the more clay you add, the more realistic your piece will look. So I've got all of these like extra petals on top, and then my very last thing I'm going to do is create like a fun center of this flower. I'm going to use a bunch of tiny little balls to make it look like a sunflower. And it will kind of clean up the center of my design. And that is my lid. So I'm going to put this next to my pot. Be really careful not to like, if you've got two separate pieces like this, don't put it on your other piece because it will get stuck in the drying process. This is also the time to like smooth anything out and like shore anything up. Once it dries, you won't be able to like change the shape of this at all. So go ahead and do that now. And for this project, you don't have to follow my like pinch pot idea. You can kind of create whatever you'd like. Just make sure you create that sketch first.